Okay, so this is Greg and Simon. We're here in a beautiful park in Tallinn, discussing the world of events. We haven't been up in about a week now, and over the past week, you know, about a year's worth of events has taken place. I mean, we've got Syria, we've got Snowden, we've got America chasing Snowden all over the place. We got people up in arms about the NSA. About sort of the terrible things that Snowden's done, and everyone forgetting the fact that Snowden is being prosecuted for spying because of what he did is he reported on NSA spying on the people. I mean, how does that work? We got S-300s and S-400s in Syria. We got so much going on.
Well, I mean, we could talk a little bit about Snowden. Like I was sort of looking at a couple articles, and you know, there's sort of some problems. Like there's like about maybe they say he's applied to well over 20 countries.
I saw that. I saw there's a map of like all these people. Yes, no, maybe. See, Putin this week agreed to have him. You see that?
Well, you know what? I also saw that he said that he agrees to have him, but he cannot say anything more bad about the U.S.
So you know what that probably is, though, isn't it? It's just like, so he can keep the secrets himself. So like, Putin's like, you can't speak about this stuff. And then behind closed doors, they're there working on the hard drive.
Well, actually, that's exactly. You know what? That's exactly what I think too. Because we were on Dollar Vigilante, and somebody put a comment that, you know, Putin, you fucker. Yeah, that's what they put on there. And I kind of thought about that, and I kind of thought it's like sweet mouth. I kind of thought that he's sort of saying it, but of course he doesn't mean it, and it's exactly like what you say.
Does anyone really think that Putin's there? Putin was, even when he did the press conference, was almost smiling when he was saying it, and he's like, you know, I think he even said the words, you know, you might find this funny coming from me, but you know, we don't want any more sort of negativity against our partners in the West.
Well, you know what? Also, listen to this. I think it was yesterday, I also read an article that now Snowden has sort of withheld now his opportunity to stay in Moscow or in Russia. Now, he is sort of like he doesn't want to stay in Russia because of that. That's what I heard.
Well, it's dangerous, I think. It's like, Russia, I don't see how he's going to get out, because I saw just this morning an article. I just saw just this morning an article, and it was, I think it's the Bolivian president. Have you seen this one?
I read that too. Bolivia, or in Ecuador, no? And also Venezuela.
But did you see that the Bolivian president's plane, and he was flying out of a summit in Russia, and I think it was Russia, and basically
they made the plane.
They made the plane come down in Vienna. Was it Vienna? I think it was Vienna, because Spain and France basically were saying, hey, you can't fly through our airspace. The Americans believe you've got Snowden on board. So they forced the planes down.
With the president on the plane?
With the president on. Made him stay in the VIP area of the airport for 24 hours. So basically he went on TV saying, hey, I was kidnapped. You know, I was basically held hostage while they searched the plane.
Holy shit. Well, I mean, that's unbelievable. But, you know, I mean, to sort of wrap this up a little bit, I mean, that's going to be an ongoing issue that we're going to be looking at. But, I mean, to me, here's the reality. Is like, I think most people, especially people like governments, whether it's like Russia's government, China's government, or these other governments, even Western governments, I believe they knew that this spying was happening already. I mean, everyone knows, but they knew the what and the why, and Snowden lets them know the how and confirms it. Yeah. So, really, how influential is this? That's another good question. People are saying that, you know, he's the spy of all spies in the last century. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think he's just reaffirming what people already know.
Anyone that's been reading and following anything over the past 10, 20 years has known when the Telecommunications Act went in the States, that was basically demanding that the telecommunications and the internet companies put hubs in all their exchanges, so the NSA could come in directly and filter off information straight into their own computers. I mean, that was it, Telecommunications Act of '91, I think it was. That's like 15 odd years ago.
Well, I mean,
20 years ago.
Another point is, if you take, and I read this from more than one place, like if you take, say, Microsoft, any sort of Windows operating process or product, that is sort of like a little bit like a Trojan horse where they can go in and get that information.
Backdoors were built in.
Exactly.
And were made to be built in. That's why they're so bloated. That's why, you can run Linux on a machine which is 10 years old, and it'll run at the speed of light almost, it was so fast. But then you try and run the newest Windows, it's so bloated because, they've got backdoors into everything. Microsoft now owns Skype. Skype, just with what Snowden released, Skype, Yahoo, all these people are filtering information, but whether they agree to it or not, the very networks they use have access via the NSA. The NSA owns both ends.
Well, exactly. So whether it's doing Google searches, whether it's doing email, or using Skype, I mean, these are all easy. I mean, every computer has its own ID number.
That's it.
So, I mean, this is all pretty easy.
Add to this as well, and this is what, obviously the Snowden thing is really only news for anyone that's been watching, Dance with the Stars for the last 5 years and really has no clue on what is happening in the world. Everyone that's been paying attention knows this stuff's been going on. But if you look recently, I don't know whether you saw this, recently NASA and I believe Homeland Security also, I'm not sure on that one, but they've just purchased the most recent quantum computer. Now, quantum computer, it's like nanotechnology. You hear about it when it first started, and then it went quiet. It just went dark for like 10 years. Then they were doing crazy stuff. And
so this is high frequency information.
The quantum is basically, it's like they're able to, they're processing, the way quantum works, it's almost like in a different dimension. So the laws of time and all these things don't really work. So they're able, say you've got an encrypted software now, the most encrypted software you can get. Yeah, and you can run it through a Cray 2 computer or these big supercomputers which run at multiple megaflops a second. And this computer can't break it. Maybe take a couple of 100 years to break this encryption, even on one of these supercomputers. You run it for a quantum computer, minutes. And NASA have just purchased one of the newest ones, the third version, and the degree of difference from the third model of this quantum computer to the second one is you cannot calculate. We don't have enough processing power with a normal computer to process the difference from the second model to the third. It's that degree of magnitude more.
Well, what I know is that this nanotechnology is just like radiation, like as far as vibration, and the vibration of this nanotechnology is supposed to be like a frequency beyond imagination, and I think this.
You mean with nano, we're talking about like the subatomic structure?
Yeah,
right?
Subatomic structure, but I'm talking about the motion or the movement, like this vibration.
Okay.
And that's what I understand where this nanotechnology, because this is actually very dangerous for people to be in contact with this, because it's like radiation.
Well, it's like Wi-Fi. It's like Wi-Fi. They picked out. They picked out. They could have used many frequencies for the Wi-Fi. All right, let's move on.
Stop.
That was 9 minutes. Syria. Okay, so that's a lot going on there. Where do you want to start?
I want to start with today. What's today?
Today.
Is that recording now?
We're on.
Oh,
we are live and broadcasting to the world right now.
So it's July what, 3rd?
I think we're July 2nd or 3rd now. Yeah.
Jesus. Well, Well, let's talk about Syria, because I got to be honest. I mean, man, oh man, I've been reading maybe about 2 hours a day on about so many different websites that are obviously not BBC or CNN. And I mean, I got to be honest. It is just, I mean, this is World War III scenario here. What do you think?
If they push it. I mean, this is the thing. You got a fleet of Russian ships in the area. You got Syria, as Russia said, with weapons that have never before been seen in action in the Middle East.
Did you see that article? Like, what did you? What?
Sorry, Global Research, right?
Well, Global Research had one, and also that Debka, that Middle East website that's on Facebook.
Okay, I don't think I've seen that one. Well, you're talking about the small nuke.
Well, that's the one. It talked about why Putin actually sort of drew the line just before the G8 summit, and he was talking to Cameron, right? Before the G8.
Yeah, this is important because for me as well. Like I saw this happening. I wasn't aware that was the reason that he acted. I thought he was just pissed off with the arrogance of America. But the actual kind of point, the sticking point, which really pushed him over the edge was this small nuke. Right?
Well, let me explain this. Is that what happened? And this happened about a month ago, a little over a month ago, where Syria went into, or sorry, where Israel went into Syria, and they were bombing just outside of Damascus. And actually, one of the devices they used was actually a nuclear device. And on that thing that we showed in that article, it has a video of that thing landing and mushroom clouding in the night.
So this is one of those little small
Did you see that?
Nukes. I missed it this morning. I was trying to find it this morning.
Okay.
I'll definitely have a look at that later. But this is. I mean, they've talked about little small tactical nukes for a long time now. Yeah, this is a low yield, being able to go in and just take out a whole area with enough force to get the job done without irradiating a whole country.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is like after this happened, Putin. Just before the G8 summit, went in there and dropped a bombshell on Cameron, the UK Prime Minister.
Scum Prime Minister.
Yeah, scum Prime Minister. And he told them, he says, he just drew the line. He says, listen, he's not going to allow a nuclear country to go in there and drop bombs on a non-nuclear country. He drew the line. We knew that the S-300s were in there. These are the SAMs, surface-to-air missiles, and if anybody knows anything about these, they need to go on sort of like Google and do a search and see the videos on these things. These are unbelievable. But now, what Putin said after this thing, he's even got the S-400s in there, and these things are good for like well over 400 kilometers. And they can hit like 30 to 50 things out of the air at lower than 50 meters above I think 5,000 meters.
Well, as well, they can come in on really small targets as well. I saw like the accuracy; they can come in on almost like a football, and hit it with accuracy. And it's part of their sort of space defense system as well. So, these things are quick to deploy. And you watch the videos and it's amazing.
Well, I mean, and I think even the Americans are admitting this, and they're like, I've seen lots of videos on this because this is interesting. Not that I'm a war freak or anything, but I mean, people just need to know this, is that these things are like maybe about 10, and I'm going to say this, about maybe 5 to 10 years ahead of the Patriot missile.
Well, I mean, you saw even when with the CNN kind of propaganda news and the Fox News in the Iraq War, you saw the state of the Patriots. I mean, it was hit or miss, and often they'd just come down in a populated area and do a load of damage anyway. Those Patriots were pretty much useless.
Like a joke.
Yeah.
But anyway, so so now Putin, and not only that, that article shows some of these special this other technology he's got. He's got these kind of special tanks that are shooting these kind of rockets.
I was looking at those this morning. They are crazy.
They're crazy.
I heard 400 units of those going in.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, here's the story now. So, I mean, now Russia has now loaded Syria to the max, and also there's no question in my mind that Iran is in this situation too.
Well, and as well, let's just face it, it's like Syria wasn't a backward army before that, was it? It was already a well-developed force. They had pretty up-to-date weaponry. They've been buying from Russia for a long time.
20 years.
But now they just got the cream of the crop. So as Putin says, it's like Syria can defend itself from any angle now. Doesn't matter what it is. It's an aircraft carrier off the coast trying to fire cruise missiles in.
Yeah.
We got an answer to that.
Yes. They've got, did you see that?
I saw that. I saw these things at 250 kilometers.
Off the coastline and can knock out aircraft.
Anything.
And with 99.9% accuracy.
I remember his words were very careful. It's like, we'll knock out anything within a 250 kilometer range.
Lovely. But, I mean, one other thing we should talk about is, like, what's happening on the ground in Syria. I mean, unlike Libya, where, all these paid terrorist thugs were sort of like, all backed by American money, and some of the Middle East stooges and that, like, say, Saudi Arabia and that, Qatar. Now all of these people are now in Syria, and for the last 2 years have been trying to overthrow the government on the ground. And I mean, the great news is the Syrian army has literally punished-fucked the whole group. Decimated them. Yeah. And now they're just in Aleppo, and they're just doing mopping up operations, which they should, by September, they should be totally cleaned of all the vermin in that country that is supported by America. So now the ball is in actually America's court now. Is like, what are they going to do next?
Along with some more, or you're going to push it some more and see what happens, and get the answer from the S-300s?
Well, that's it. I mean, America's thinking about fly zone. They're actually voting on this in Congress.
Russia said they'll fly their own jets in. They'll fly some planes in and see if anyone wants to touch them.
Exactly. Well, I mean, the other thing is I mean, you hear what's going on in Turkey, eh?
Well, yeah. I mean, every person is on the street. I mean, it's and this is what we're in it's got to be 3 weeks now. This has been going on. This isn't like a quick flare up and then it calms down. This has been built up for 10 years from a president that promised the world as he came in and had a big approval rating, and then he's over the years managed to play chess basically with all the government departments and put all of his people in.
Like the cronyism,
cronyism is right in there in all the top departments within the armed forces and everything, just to give himself that layer of protection. The people are aware to it now. People are, I mean, people say it's about park. It's not about park. It's about the principle of government thinking it can do what the hell it likes at the expense of the people constantly.
Well, I think that I think that's an interesting comment, because I also think, I mean, no one in Turkey wants to fight against their neighbor in Syria.
Yeah.
And the government is going against their will by offering America, kissing their ass, and allowing them to come in there, set up bases, and go across and use their land to sort of like overthrow the Syrian government. But I've also read a number of articles. It has to do also with a couple other things. One is the economy. They're not happy with the economy. I mean, unemployment's not that good. It's kind of high, and there's problems going on there. And also, we were reading a lot about Jim Willey.
Jim Willey.
Yeah, I mean, the guru of gurus.
He's the guru.
I mean, he says, and this is coming true now. Like at first, when we started hearing about this a couple months ago, Jim Willey said that Turkey is going to be a gold exchange for China, Russia, India, Iran, where they're going to be bartering with gold and washing the U.S. dollar back to America and to London.
This is about 2 newsletters ago now as well, and he was well ahead of the game.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? At first I was a little concerned because Turkey's playing this double game. You know, they're sort of like buying Iranian oil using gold. America's now trying to put a stop to that. And then what happened is then Turkey's now funding to allow America to go into Syria, which is the exact opposite. Yeah, so it's like they're playing a double-edged game here. And I even talked to Jim Willey about this. I sent him an email, and I said, like, what the hell's going on here? And he says, don't worry about it. 2 weeks later,
Jim knows.
Jim knows. We see there's an overthrow. Now, what I think what's going on in Turkey is that there's factions or groups of people that are trying to overthrow the government that's in there. And they're getting support from China, Russia, and they're trying to get rid of the U.S. dollar influence, and they are going to be used as a gold center trade hub.
It's a game changer when that goes in.
It seems like it's going to move that way. I mean, we'll have to keep our eye on it because you know, I think his days are numbered. The president of Turkey's days are numbered.
I mean, he's got to go the way of Egypt.
Speaking of Egypt, do you think what's happening there? What do you think that? Yeah, I think that's the same thing.
I think it's exactly the same thing. It's America's influence, people getting sick of it, because it only benefits a small group of people, even in America. It doesn't even benefit the American people. People are just tired of these propped up dictators all over the world doing the will of Washington, and you know, times.
What about the Brotherhood? What do you think? Because I think they're funding the Syrian war to overthrow the government, just like
the same Brotherhood that what's his name from the US just went out and visited after talking in Washington about how we need to take control of these terrorists, and then he went and visited them and funded them.
Totally unbelievable.
Yeah, well, I think that's it. I think, like we were talking earlier, I think, you know, those that are now taking control in Egypt will see the problem, will see the danger, and will see what needs to happen to the Brotherhood, and that they all need to be cleared up. Yeah, and taken out of circulation.
Well, they already are. We read the articles from last night.
But I mean, not just the, you know, the sort of the main guys. There's a lot, you know. There's like the little sleeper cells and the little CIA little houses you've got there with little groups, but they need to like clean house.
So you think that's going to happen?
I think someone there, they're not. If they leave it a half-assed job, they'll get what happened this last time. So we got the other guy went, the other last US propped up dictator, and we got this new guy in going, yeah, it'll all be different. And then 6 months later, what is it? 6 months, a year later, he's gone. And it's because there was still influence. Obviously, there's still influence. There's still monetary influence. So the people taking over now really need to.
Well, I mean, a couple of things about that is, like, did you hear that, and this is like bullshit, it was kind of like complete arrogance, like America stated,
statement, yeah.
there will not be any coup unless it's okayed by the U.S., and they say that they could lose their...
We're the only ones that do coups.
Yeah. Well, they also said that, you know, that Egypt would be in jeopardy of their $1.3 billion aid assistance from America, and I mean, everybody that's waking up knows that this U.S. dollar bullshit is only bullshit.
Maybe Egypt should request that aid to come in gold.
Well, maybe if that happened, the U.S. wouldn't be able to supply that. But I mean, the other thing that's interesting is that is the Egyptian army. I mean, they have connections with the U.S. along with Israel. There's still some high-level connection there. And the other thing is, and this is another problem with Egypt, not only with Morsi, the president there, doing, you know, the bullshit going on, but the economy is really bad in Egypt. There's 80 million people. It's the biggest Middle East population. And they have huge economic problems. They owe $7.8 billion to the IMF and that. And of course, as soon as that Morsi guy got in there and made that deal, I knew nothing was going to change. Yeah, same as. But now, as for Russia and China, I think that they're kind of happy the Brotherhood's not in there. They're going to be destabilized. And even if the Egyptian army is sort of still a little bit connected to Israel and sort of the U.S., they still have a decision to make. Because are they going to run that country? And the other thing is, if they've got 80 million people that have got an economy that's not doing very well, I think they're going to have their hands full with their own country and not extend themselves to another country.
Helping out, destabilizing their neighbors for, which will only be a short-lived benefit, because no one, America's not got anyone in mind to kind of be standing with them at the end. It's a one-country game.
What do you think of Jim Willey's comment about Saudi Arabia? Like now Turkey's saying no to the United States, and also Egypt, I think, is
when
in
that
no
tide
position.
turns, I think, I'm not sure how aware the people in Saudi Arabia are of what's going on with their sort of comatose or dead leader. I don't know which it is, but he's definitely not in any sort of state to be leading the country.
Brain dead.
So as that spreads and I think for Egypt, for Saudi Arabia, there's surely got to be people seeing what Russia and China are doing with the BRICS, with the gold, the silver exchange, with the gold for oil, all these deals they're doing all over the world. So the time for America's gone.
The petrodollar, in or out?
Yeah, it's gone. It's out.
I totally agree.
American imperialism is gone. Like they carry on as if they're. I mean, the arrogance they speak to these other countries about, like the way they were speaking to Ecuador. The Ecuadorian president said, you see that there was, I think, it was 23 million in aid Ecuador got in free trade agreements with the states.
23 million?
Something like that. I think what the figure was, and basically it was the U.S. government saying, hey, look, Ecuador, play the game. Don't give Snowden any help, or don't have him in your country. If you do, we'll remove the aid. And Ecuadorian president basically said, hey, you don't want to be lecturing us. I'm paraphrasing here, but don't be lecturing us. I'll tell you what, keep the 23 million. We'll give you 23 million to help educate you on human rights.
Wow.
I thought that was
there's
hard.
money well spent.
Yeah. I don't know if 23 million is enough, though.
Well,
there's more for the states.
Well, I mean, nobody really wants to run them down. Like, I mean, I'm anti 1% in America.
Yeah, I make that clear. I love America, the country, a beautiful place with cool people. It's just that it's a dictator in everything but name.
Well, and I mean, we can go on and on. I mean, we can talk maybe next week about FEMA camps.
Yeah, oh God.
Police state.
Yeah.
And
the list goes on. The list goes on. I mean, land of the free. Yeah. You seen the July 4th parties, and you see the sign: no cameras, no video, no personal items, no
smiling, no breathing, no anything.
No slogans on signs, no slogans on T-shirts. Yeah, land of the free. Enjoy your July 4th Independence Party. But that's it. And apologies to you American people that are listening that do know why you're having July 4th parties. It seems from some recent videos that a lot of people don't know why who you are gaining independence from.
Well, anyway, what we could do is, like I said, we talked a little bit about the Middle East. I think that's going to be interesting, but I do believe that it's in America's court. They're going to take it to the next level. And I think they're going to have to. They have no choice. They have to defend the petrodollar. But I believe the petrodollar will end in Syria, because as Syria falls, China, Russia, Iran, 80% of all the other countries are supporting this. It's going to stop there. And I believe, may have World War III coming soon. I sure hope not.
Oh, I sure hope not as well. Hopefully, clear heads will prevail and see that.
Well, if history proves anything, I don't think there's going to be any clear heads, and I think maybe sometime by the end of this year, 2013, we're going to see some $130, $150 oil prices. What do you think about that?
Well, that might just be what we need for people to pay attention and actually, you know, start getting out on the streets like Brazil, like Turkey, and really throwing the government out, making an example of what the people believe the government should be doing. And if you don't follow the will of the people, what happens to you?
We can only hope.
Fingers crossed. All right, on that note, we'll check in our next broadcast probably next week.
All right.
See you soon.
Thank you very much. Lovely. Come here, Liz. Oh, wow.